I'd like to introduce Callista Kent and Elizabeth Collins from the New South Wales Department of Customer Service to give us an understanding of their program in supporting carers at work through an employee resource group.
Thank you. So I'm Callista. Next slide for us. Hi there. So I'm Callista. Just a little bit about us. So I'm joining you today from beautiful Darkinjung country on the New South Wales Central Coast. Gorgeous lands. I'm a carer and I work full-time for the New South Wales Department of Customer Service. So I've got 3 kids. Angus is my middle child. He's 19. He's missing a little tiny piece of chromosome 3. And he's the only recorded person in the world with that particular deletion. He's got no speech. He's still in nappies. He has epilepsy. He has alopecia totalis, and he's quite autistic as well. So full care required for Gus. He can walk, but we do use a wheelchair when we go out. He doesn't walk long, extended periods of time, and he also doesn't follow many instructions. So intellectually, I suppose he ranges between about 3 months old and 3 or 4 years old, but he's absolutely 19 in terms of his size and in terms of his hormones. He's a reasonably chilled kind of guy. Thank God for that. And anyway, he finished school last year. And he's in day programs 5 days a week, not at the moment because of COVID, but in day programs 5 days a week so that I can work full time.
Thanks, Callista. Hi, everyone. Elizabeth. I'm joining you from Wongal country. Like Callista, I also have 3 children. My second daughter, Michelle, was diagnosed with Crohn's colitis at 15. She's now 20 years old. And my son was eventually diagnosed with juvenile arthritis at the age of 7, although he showed symptoms from around 18 months old. Mitchell is now 14 and he's in Year 9 at high school. Unfortunately, their chronic illnesses have impacted their mental health. And it also, for the entire family, there have been diseases are not visible, and thankfully they're not always active. And whilst this is a good thing, people find it difficult to relate to and to understand. You can't predict what's going to happen with either of their conditions, and it's not something you can easily plan for. The members of our Carers Employee Resource Group at the Department of Customer Service reflect the full definition of carers, caring for a family member, a friend, anyone that needs the help because they may have a disability, a terminal illness, chronic illness, or a combination. Or that they may be ageing. Next slide, please.
The service is a central agency serving over 8 million customers across New South Wales. So our aim is to try and make it easier for our customers to deal with government by driving improvements in customer service and reducing red tape. So DCS, or Department of Customer Service, we've got over 30 agencies and business units, and we employ around about 10,000 people. So one of the largest employers in New South Wales. You'd be familiar with some of the agencies that make up our department. So probably the most, the one on everybody's lips at the moment is Service New South Wales, Revenue New South Wales. We've got a number of regulators such as Fair Trading, Safe Work New South Wales, Liquor and Gaming. We've got the State Insurance Regulatory Authority, so the Workers' Compensation Arm, and Digital New South Wales. So that's just some of what makes up our department.
The Department of Customer Service is committed to ensuring our business reflects the community, with a focus on customers and community at the centre of what we do and inclusion at the heart of everything we do, and ensuring our partner collaboration is at its best. Part of that commitment includes establishing a number of employee resource groups, or ERGs. You've got to love an acronym. The ERGs have been around for about 3 years, and their purpose is to assist the department to build a diverse and inclusive workforce that better is able to engage with and understand the needs and expectations of our diverse customers, the people of New South Wales. The list that you can actually see of our ERGs is on the screen. It's quite wide and varied. We've currently got 10 ERGs. The regional ERG was actually introduced earlier this year, And we're currently investigating introducing a new ERG for parents. That's something that's come up as a need, particularly in the COVID and lockdown periods. So the organisation's extremely responsive to the needs of its and also focusing more broadly on the wider community. Next slide.
So in terms of our carers ERG or employee resource group, underpinning each of the points that I'm just going to talk to now, and Elizabeth also, is true commitment. And you know, what we find is that the Department of Customer Service is truly committed to, you know, making this an inclusive workplace and a place where employees who are carers are actually safe and supported at work. So things that we do there are through initiatives such as our Carer Employee Resource Group. All of the ERGs that Elizabeth mentioned have an executive who sponsors the group. So like Joe was just talking about in the last session, we've got a champion. So Rose is our champion. She's our executive sponsor. So they support us and advocate for us at a higher level, you know, to address issues. And they all also help to give, excuse me, our ERGs a higher profile. And they do get a high profile in the agency as well. So there's a point there about support and learning from each other. You know, some of our members in our carers ERG really see the ERG as a lifeline. Carers can attend the ERG meetings or ring any one of us at any time, and they know they don't have to justify themselves or their feelings or their actions or anything like that. You can speak freely, nobody's going to judge you. It's an opportunity to be heard and validated, I suppose, in a safe space, and everyone listens.
It's actually, for me, it has been a saving grace on many occasions when I've had fluctuations in my carer needs. It's the support group's amazing.
Absolutely, and we've learned a lot from one another. So, you know, whether it's going through, taking someone through chemo and what to expect there, or navigating the aged care system or the NDIS, or sadly having to go to tribunals, looking at, you know, payments available to carers, even things right down to continence aids or something like that. You know, we share what we know from each other, and we do learn a lot from each other as well. We've also got additional support. So, you know, COVID's been hard on carers, as I'm sure all of you joining in today know. And as chairs, Elizabeth and I, as chairs of that ERG, and our executive sponsor, Rose, as well, look, we're all great listeners, but we're carers ourselves and we need support too. And we're committed amateurs, I suppose, in terms of being able to provide counselling support to other people on our ERG. So one of the things that we're working on to get into place is to have some, you know, permanent kind of psychological support available in addition to our employee assistance program that we already have, but some additional psychological support available to attend our meetings, you know, and so that if they can see that people need additional support and that sort of thing, you know, they can reach out and see, you know, and touch base with people to see if they're okay. And we've got the full support of our department to make that happen. We've also had guest speakers a few times, and Elizabeth will talk to you about some of the work that we've done too. But I guess another thing in terms of supporting one another and the business supporting us is that during COVID, you know, one of the things that COVID has shown all of us is that, you know, flexible work is absolutely on the table for so many workplaces. So, you know, workplace adjustments that people in all businesses may have, you know, had trouble negotiating in the past. You know, we looked at last year and how quickly the country mobilised in a matter of days to get people working from home where they could. So I think many workplaces, including our own, you know, whilst we're looking forward to going back to our workplaces, we'll manage in sort of a hybrid arrangement from here on in. So some work from home and some work in the workplace. Important to have that contact too. Thanks.
We also have the opportunity to influence policy and practices. So as the Employee Resource Group, we focus our attention on DCS policies and practice adequately reflect out the employees' needs and those of the customers that we serve. We have made progress in terms of how people within the agency view carers. We use the Carers New South Wales definition, And so we've made sure that information available on our internal website for parents has been separated from the information for carers to ensure there's no confusion between parents and carers, whilst you can be a parent and a carer as well, as we all know. Our intranet includes information about our carer employee resource group and our contact details. It links to our flexible working practice and to relevant legislation, and links to other agencies such as Carers New South Wales. We advocate raising the profile of carers working in the Department of Customer Service. Some of the work we've been supported to do in the department is to profile carers through our internal social internets, our internal networks, and at our Disability and Inclusion Advisory Council meetings, other executive meetings across DCS, and through posts on our internal socials, was something that Joe and Paula mentioned in their session earlier, that it's really important to get that lived experience and that message across to help people understand. We've also had a range of guest speakers run lunchtime sessions open to all departmental employees to raise awareness of carers and promote inclusion in the workplace, as well as support and comfort for our carers in knowing they are not alone. Examples include Carers New South Wales, awesome, the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice, and Australian sportswoman, survivor player and carer, Moana Hope. We even had laughter yoga last year, and this year in Carers Week, and this year we're doing exactly the same session. It's fantastic, and it really is available to everyone to help relieve their stress and their pressures. Each of these initiatives have helped us to grow our membership base. We are still a small group, but we know carers are everywhere in the organisation, and so we continue to raise the profile so that carers know they are not alone in our organisation. Since becoming in the Carer Employee Resource Group, we've learned that sharing stories helps build resilience, and our DCS executive are interested, committed, and keen to support us. Sharing stories helps build awareness and bring about change. Next slide. Thank you.
So that's a great segue into our final point, which is that all of this isn't just a positive for us who work for the Department of Customer Service, but it also helps us in our service delivery to customers because our employee base is more reflective of our customers, and we can provide advice and assistance about what those customers might need or might expect from us as well. So DCS is currently looking at joining the Carers and Employers program, so a national program administered by Carers New South Wales that defines best practice standards to support staff with carer responsibilities. So it's about becoming an employer of choice for carers. We know this has support at the highest levels in our department, and we're expecting a formal announcement about that during Carers Week next week. And we're really excited for that, and we think that we're also well on our way to becoming an employer of choice for carers. From a customer-facing point of view, last year DCS launched a carers landing page on the Service New South Wales website. So the purpose of that landing, it's there in front of you, and the link's there too. So the purpose of the landing page is to provide a one-stop shop for carers in New South Wales who are seeking information, relevant to their caring role and circumstance. It's about being responsive to the needs of the people that we serve. I've used it myself. I've found it to be extremely useful and have everything in the one place, a bit of a one-stop shop, right down to things like companion card and so on. There's links there for those things. I'd encourage any carers that are online today to visit the Service New South Wales website, type in carer, and view the services, supports and information that you can access through that site. So we might move to some questions, but thank you for joining us today, and thanks to Mary for running the session for us, and to Carers New South Wales for inviting us to join in.
For questions, Lucas, one or two? 4 minutes. I'd encourage people to just flag some questions if they would like. I have a couple here, if I could ask, please. So when you started the employer resource groups, did you get an immediate uptake from carers? Because you were saying before, there's a lot of carers in your organisation. I'm interested to know what was the uptake?
So from small beginnings, great things grow. When the Carers in Reference Group started, We actually started very small. So there were for the first meeting, I think there were just 2 members. By the second meeting, we grew to 3. And then we're now at about 25. And as we said, we've been going for about 3 years. We have people that come and join us, and then they stop. Sometimes they've stopped being a carer. It also depends on what people's ability is. And I think one of the benefits of our group is giving you that aha moment. And I was one of those people. I've been a carer for a number of years before I even joined the group. And when I went, just because I was just interested to see what they were talking about, for me, it was my opportunity to realise that actually I was a carer. It was more than just being a parent. It was actually a lot of what I was dealing with the hospital visits and all of those sorts of medical issues were actually carer responsibilities. And it gave me that opportunity to then start and feel comfortable and to stop covering what I was managing. And Joe and Paula mentioned earlier that it's really important that people feel comfortable to actually share that information. And that's what we are trying to do for others. So whilst we know there's a lot more within the organisation, we're happy to be small. It's about our reach, and we think we're getting there.
Another question here is any tips to how to start a carer support group?
Callista?
Yeah, sure. In terms of how to start a carer support group, boy, our agency sort of started it for us. I guess I went to join the disability group because I have a child with disabilities, and they said, hold tight, we're going to have a group for carers as well. Look, I think, just go to your executive, or your managers, and say that you have an interest in starting a group. I know that Carers New South Wales has a number of resources available and sessions that you can attend, to learn how to be a better facilitator of groups and those sorts of things as well that would help you. And just, as Elizabeth said, from small beginnings. So there were 2 of us that went to the first meeting. So we were immediately, the chair and the secretary. and it just sort of grew from there very informally. We're not a formal group. We do work. We support one another in one meeting, and then the next meeting we work on the business, and then our next meeting we support one another, next meeting on the business, and we just keep in contact.
Thanks, Callista. And there are a number of resources, thanks for bringing that up, on the Carers New South Wales website around carer support group facilitation skills and setting up a carer support group that are free for people to access, and workshops that are free for people to access. They're very popular. So please, partake of those, just in terms of some ideas of how to start. I think that's the end of our question time. I know Callista and Elizabeth are happy to speak to people directly if they contact them on the email provided there. Is that available for everybody to see, Lucas? It's diversity@customerservice.newsouthwales.gov.au. Happy for them to take questions, or you might want to access some of those resources. Thank you again, Callista and Elizabeth. Thank you to all our speakers, some wonderful resources out there to support working carers.